For once, this entire video is dedicated to one character, Angel Dust, of whom I have some pretty mixed feelings on. He's one of the main characters of the show Hazbin Hotel, of which I've been constructing my own alternative universe or rewriting of. He is a polarizing character, both being enjoyed and disliked for the same reason: his representation of trauma, sexual assault, and abuse. Some controversy surrounding this representation is that it's taken too lightly. First, he has multiple songs that some seem as glamorizing his abuse, with its upbeat neon pink electronic sound and flashy visuals. This is also where the backlash for Valentino comes from, as he acts like a serious abuser in his songs, but is downplayed in season 2 as a whole, where he's portrayed more goofy. I personally don't have an issue with this, as I've said in my V's video, but some criticizers of the show believe that infantilizing the abuser and making him seem silly is enabling him, as it makes him more likable. Another controversy is that Angel Dust's abuse is played off for laughs. For example, in season 2 episode 1, there's a gag compilation of Valentino hitting Angel Dust. But I don't think this is too much of an issue, as we should know that the V's are not normal people, and the scene was written from their perspective. Angel Dust also has very few episodes where he could properly delve into his characterization and be treated as an actual character, rather than a background asset that occasionally delivers a sexual one-liner, which is overdone in my opinion. One of the only episodes where he was part of the main focus was Masquerade, where he and Husk talked about their situations and where the popular fanship Husker Dust was conceived. I personally don't think that Husker Dust is a good ship, because when in fandom spaces, both Angel and Husk are mischaracterized into more hetero-leaning roles, and the way Husk treats Angel is quite creepy. For instance, he refers to Angel as kid quite a lot, and their relationship resembles a father-child dynamic much more than a romantic one. He also gets overshadowed a lot by Lucifer, the V's, Alistair, Charlie, and even the angels in heaven, who are minor characters, and his importance as a sinner who can be redeemed is undervalued. I do understand that there's a few things in play, such as the team not being given proper seasons, limited to 8 episodes per season instead of maybe a regular 20 or 30, and so many plot points to get through per episode. But having so many different things for them to do doesn't negate the fact that Angel seems to have been forgotten about until the reveal at the end of the season. I feel that the narrative is also trying to drop him, especially at the end of the season where he goes back to Valentino, though it's understandable why he would. From what I've observed, I believe Angel Dust in the show has an inferiority complex. This is especially clear in the episode where Pentious joins the hotel, and outshines Angel by a lot via redemption, leading to Angel being bitter, retreating from the rest of the hotel goers, and also acting aggressively to Pentious. Of course, he does seem to be acting like the only sane main character in that case, especially since Pentious was trying to kill them only 10 minutes ago. But with all of his quirks put together, like his low self-esteem and degrading himself, yes, that includes his sexually charged comments, I have the impression of someone shutting the outside world away. In fact, I think that Angel Dust is not hypersexual, like the fandom likes to place onto him, just displaying traits of hypersexuality. I researched symptoms, causes, and effects, and the way Angel Dust puts himself forward gives the impression that he himself does not suffer with the disorder, instead having more people-pleasing tendencies, which skew more sexual in nature. It's hard to tell where his enjoyment starts and ends, especially since he's contractually obligated to keep working whether he's into it or not, which makes it hard to analyse his character. In Masquerade, the only episode that really dives into both Angel Dust's and Husk's character, he explains that his entire Angel Dust persona is just that, a facade. I see it as this persona being his only escape in the midst of Valentino's control, mostly since resisting would only put him in danger, and keeping to a set persona at all times is easier than switching up constantly. You do see this when he's around his seemingly only friend, Cherry Bomb, who he seems to be comfortable around. Redesigning Angel Dust was a task in itself. He's very much an iconic character, with all of his traits being very unique to him. I didn't go the normal route of giving him more spider-like traits like mandibles or an abdomen, since I didn't think it would fit him at all. Starting from the bottom, I made his feet spider paws. If you don't know, spiders actually have two little paw-like things at the bottom of their legs which are very cute. Angel Dust actually does have one piece of official art where you can see what his feet look like, which is basically the same as my design. I also like his boots a lot, so he keeps them in his hotel uniform. Moving up, I gave him some long fur around his ankles and calves in a flared jean-like pattern. I wanted to change his fur in the way that it grows all over him in an equal length, and he trims it into the shape it is. Having there be more fur near his feet cover it more, since he still thinks his feet are ugly, and also would help him warm him up without the need for socks. His torso is also sculpted to look more attractive. I didn't like that he only had chest fluff that he pushes up, and instead has a large volume there that can flatten out somewhat over an area for his own comfort. He has quite the exaggerated silhouette, especially through his chest and thighs. He isn't attracted to women, or wants to be one, and he's just guessing what his audience wants. And finally, his face. Since I'm not giving him traditional spider features, I still gave a nod to them in shaping two parts of his hair next to his face like spider mandibles. Originally, I had planned his hair to be longer and shaped differently, but I decided it looked too close to Charlie's. It's now shorter, slicked back, yet also fluffy, and blends into his forehead. This is a reference to how when a jumping spider has multiple colours on its head, its colours change abruptly from above and below the eyes. I also included a facial crest since it wanted to add more features to his face, without actually giving him a nose, since, spiders don't have a nose. I also added 3 additional eyes underneath each eye, which doubles as fake eyelashes. Aside from his Sinner design, I took the time to flesh out his new backstory. I personally didn't like the fact that Angel originally lived and died in the Mafia, so he now dies around the 1940s. Essentially, his family were the prime suppliers of the Mafia, selling guns and drugs from their multiple branches all over Chicago. He was originally born as the youngest son to a Mafia boss, who constantly tormented and abused Angel for being the youngest, thinnest, and weakest of his brothers, who were stronger and more capable than him, running operations by the time Angel was able to shoot a gun well. He eventually killed his father as a direct result of his twin, Molly, dying of intentional overdose, leading to his arrest and then conscription into the army to fight in World War II. Drug taking during the World Wars was surprisingly rampant, with drugs in fact being pushed onto soldiers, as stimulants were needed for soldiers to stay awake during the nights, which Angel became dependent on when he was alive. The war was rough and instantly took a toll on him, especially as he was the last man standing in his regiment. He didn't die an honourable death like the others. Instead, he dosed on army drugs and wandered into the battlefield. When he arrived in Hell, he didn't have any aspirations and wasn't even remotely surprised. He was shaggy all over and had more limbs than he knew what to do with. He soon learnt that his body shape was pliable and that he could sell his looks. He started flirting as a way to get by and made his own web of admirers who raised him to a rising star in the lust ring. He never got as big as he did when Valentino found him, however. Valentino arrived in Hell a decade after Angel did, and instantly became famous. He found Angel Dust when he was looking for potential new talent, and got into a relationship with him. The dynamic between the two is different in my version, especially since Angel loves Valentino, despite being consistently mistreated and assaulted. The first few years of their relationship was very pleasant, as far as relationships in Hell go, though the abuse slowly started to trickle through. Angel was banned from leaving Valentino's sight, and was made to feel unable to say no to anything. Valentino started making him do more and more things for his adult entertainment company, and eventually made Angel sign a contract to work for him. It took until seeing both Valentino and Vox together, without the need for sex, for Angel to realize that he was not in a real relationship, and that he needed to leave. His contract prevented him from leaving work until Valentino let him, so he was unable to stop being an adult entertainer, but it didn't mention his living situation. He moved places overnight, keeping to the abandoned buildings in Limbo, where he spends all of his off hours. I've rejigged how I'm going to start my rewrite, and Angel Dust is now the first occupant of the hotel, before Charlie and Vaggie even. He was squatting in the hotel, had taken to the key as his pet, and was very abrasive to any change in the status quo. He's cynical, maybe a little too cynical, and hates change. He still has hope that Valentino still has at least a little love left for him, but is also trying to separate himself with little success. He's scared that he won't ever be free, but pretends he is free while in company. He's embarrassed to have to go to work for Valentino on a whim, but disguises it by calling it work or something other than what it is. Is he close to redemption? No. Is he actively pursuing redemption? Also no. Does he have potential for redemption? Absolutely. There's no reason for him to stop taking drugs or abusing alcohol until later in the plot where he does. He also finds community and stops living for someone else, and instead for himself. And that's all for Angel Dust. I hope you enjoyed my video. Sorry if I sound a little croaky at times. I've just contracted the cold my boyfriend/editor has, so I had to record before I got any worse. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. I also have channel memberships available, and you can support me directly through the Ko-fi link in the description. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. My subscriber count is above 3k, so my Discord is linked in the description. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.